This is the video where I name drop my fantasy basketball sleepers for the 25 to 26 season. Pretty positive reception to my last video talking about how I'm using AI this year to win my fantasy basketball leagues. You may know me as that guy who's won 36% of all the fantasy football leagues he's been in the last 20 plus years, but my rate is even better in fantasy basketball. I placed top 3 in over 60% of all the leagues I've been in the last 20 plus years, win around 30% of them. Only going to be talking about guys outside the top 40 picks. If you've already drafted, that's fine. I will be talking about some guys I'm sure will be available in your league. These picks apply to any format really, but I'm mostly looking at 9 category head to head. I think that's the truest format of fantasy basketball. First off, we have to talk about Dyson Daniels. When you look at his average stats, he was the 12th ranked player in the entire NBA for 9-cat last year, and he's a guy who's 22 years old and is being drafted outside the top 40. His category dominance in steals is unlike anything any other player has in the entire NBA in the category. Next, I got to talk about Austin Reaves. He fits the mold of a guy who showed during stretches that he can be an elite fantasy contributor. He was the #1 player in fantasy for a whole entire month last year at one point. LeBron is likely to rest a lot this year. It's possible Luka rests as well. This is a guy who has a very high safe floor at 47th pick and has elite upside. Then we got to talk about Milesbridges. Going to change my outfit for this one. Now that Bridges is past his suspension and off the court issues, I expect a much better year. Honestly, wish him nothing but the best in terms of his personal growth, but despite having his worst shooting season of his entire career, he was a top 50 borderline player last year. Love Charlotte's offense, fast-paced team. Even if they have more weapons this year, it'll only help Miles' consistency and efficiency. If the field goal percentage and three-point percentage go up, we're looking at a guy who would easily be a top 25 player. Next, I've got to talk about Christian Brown, 90th overall drafted player on Yahoo, yet he was a top 25 finisher last year, and he's only 23 years old. Make it make sense. They added some wing depth from the Nuggets, but I don't think it's going to impinge on his role at all, and he's still on the upward trajectory part of his career. I also want to talk about Michael Porter Jr. I love him now on Brooklyn. His brother can't bet on him, but I will. He said a lot of silly, kind of stupid things in his podcast this offseason, but one that I actually agree with is that he is one of the best shooters in the NBA besides Steph. Someone has to score the approximately 100 points per game that Brooklyn will have, and this is a guy who has as good a chance as any to average 25. Next up, I have to talk about Matas Bucelis on Chicago. 21 years old, 6'10", freak athlete, great handle, great shot, has been getting hype in the offseason. I think we'll see it all come together this year much more for Chicago Bulls team that's looking for the future, seeing what they have, seeing what they can build around. I've been guard heavy in this one, so I want to talk about a big man now, Donovan Clingan. DeAndre Ayton is gone. He's the clear starting center. He's still young. He's still an elite rim protector, a guy who can get you a lot of blocks, which is rare in fantasy basketball. And if you played fantasy basketball long enough, you know that a solid, decent big man on a mediocre team can be elite. And then when you're looking at deep picks, I like to look for guys who are going to be great early in the season for some reason. Specifically, I like Davion Mitchell and D'Angelo Russell this year. The common thread is that they have injured starters in front of them. Kyrie Irving and Tyler Herro are supposed to miss significant amounts at the beginning of the season. D'Lo's been a solid fantasy contributor before, and he has a great environment in Dallas. Davion Mitchell's been mediocre, a little bit disappointing in his NBA career, but I think that Eric Spoelstra started to unlock something last year, and I'm very excited to see what he does in this year. It's his offense. He's 26 years old. He's finally a more physically imposing guy in the NBA. Oftentimes it takes a few years for young players to become men, and he is ready. I have a site, fansports.com. Let me know if I should add basketball rankings to it. Thank you for spending a few valuable minutes a day with me. Stay learning. Peace.